welcome to Now is the Time. Today I have Michelle Winder as a guest on the program today, and she is a transformational, inspirational coach, but she's also dealt with literally hundreds, if not thousands of victims, people who have been molested and violated through sexual trafficking, molestation, and victimization. And so today we're going to be talking about some of these topics and what you can do to be aware of how to actually prevent it, but also what you can do to help change the circumstances around you. So this is a very important Now is the Time program. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you, Mary. I'm happy to be here.
You know, we met just like a little over a month ago,
Right.
And since then, you know, I've been to China and a number of things have been happening.
Whirlwind.
And I've been working, you know, we've discussed about the documentary about sex trafficking.
Right.
That God had told me to do about 8 months ago. And then we connected, and you told me that you've worked with a number of victims along those lines. What got you involved in working with victims of molestation?
Oh, it's a long story. I actually was a victim myself multiple times before the age of 22. And I came to the Lord miraculously at 21. And so I really struggled with the Lord, and I said, Lord, why me so many times? And I know other people who have never been victims. And what I found is there's a spiritual component to it where when we are victimized, especially if we're younger, then we're victimized again and again and again. And part of it is physical, that we actually believe that we're victims. It changes our whole mindset. It gives us a victim mentality, and then we attract predators. And the other thing is, I believe it's a spiritual component where literally demons surround you. When there's any kind of trauma like that in your life that's evil, you have demons come in, and when you don't get rid of them, cast them out, tell them to go and not return, then they just not only hang out, but other demons see them, and it's like, oh, here's a victim. So it's almost like you're wearing a big hat that says, I'm a victim, choose me.
Well, and as I've been doing shows about sexual trafficking, it seems for the last 10, 15 years, there was always a thread that I'd have people on my show, and they would say, well, they were molested when they were younger, or they had this type of circumstance that happened.
Right.
And then when God called me into doing this sex trafficking movie, it goes along with the major motion picture that I've been working on for a number of years, too, about a young boy named Lonnie Frisbee, who was molested at 8 years old for 2 years. Mm-hmm. But he became the catalyst for a Jesus movement. So, excuse me, God is really dealing now with these victims.
Yes.
So what, excuse me, what can people do? What are some of the signs of victimization?
Okay, so one of the things, if you're a victim as a child, you know, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. I mean, there are trainings out there now that are telling children, speak up if something's not right, tell your teacher, tell your parents, tell your aunt and uncle, whatever. Find someone safe and tell them. Don't put up with things. But once you are a victim, what I've found is so many victims focus on their victimhood, and the way I see it is it's as though we're rowing a rowboat, and so we're looking backward as we're rowing forward, and you're going to crash every time. You can't keep focusing on your victimhood and expect to go forward in life. So that's my main thing, is that people need to acknowledge it and get past it. And I believe only God can help you thoroughly be free from that.
Well, excuse me, I got a little bit of a cold over in China. It's just sometimes I think it's kind of an attack what's happening now, too.
Yes.
So in Jesus' name, we take authority over this, and we just say, we will not be stopped. Our voices will not be stopped.
Amen.
See, you have to understand what's happening right now. I believe this is a spiritual manifestation of, you know, we don't think that everything is the devil.
Right.
But I do know enough in working along in this field that there's so many, the enemy wants to stop our voices.
Absolutely.
He will do anything he can to stop what's being exposed.
Absolutely.
You know, people might not like Donald Trump, but one thing that Donald Trump is doing is he is exposing molestations, violations, in particular with sex trafficking and abuse.
Absolutely.
In America. And the Me Too campaign, God gave me a verbiage called Free To campaign.
Love it.
And we're going to be having a Freedom Cry out gathering on October 12th, and then a Freedom March on the 13th, coming up in several months. So Michelle and I have literally joined forces. See, God is bringing teams together where we're going to start linking arms with what she's been doing with victims and training and teaching how to get over these crises and abuses that have happened.
Yes.
And myself have going through different abuses. God is linking people's arms, so it's like united we stand, divided we fall.
Yes, totally.
One puts 1,000, but two puts 10,000.
Yes.
So if we bring in a team of women, a team of men and women together collectively, there's nothing we can do that we can't do.
Right.
And so I just wanted to say that what was happening to me, the enemy's trying to stop our voices.
Absolutely. And that's such a perfect way to express it too, is literally trying to stop our voices. And I want to say here something about the Me Too campaign, because I know a lot of you are part of the Me Too campaign. I'm a Me Too. But what I found in working with victims for 22 years is, how is that helping you? So yes, it's important to come forward, but we need to go beyond going forward, because we need help, we need freedom. And unless you can accept the fact this is actually all too common, and it's one thing that I know, we'll talk about statistics later, I think, but it is so common and so prevalent, and our generation has always been silent about it. We're not going to talk about it because that makes it real. And so the Me Too is great that way. It's like, no, not only should we talk about it, we need to talk about it, but let's not stop with talking. Let's change it. Let's change this world so that our daughters and our granddaughters and our grandsons don't have to deal with what our generation dealt with.
Well, and too, with the trafficking, I mean, it's a $150 billion industry.
Yes.
The reason people are getting involved with it is because of the money.
Right.
It's fueled by pornography.
Yes.
And so, you know, there's a lot of men. It used to be, back in the day, you had to go buy a Playboy or go into a, one of those illicit, places you could watch it in a theater.
Right.
But now everybody has access to it on their phone.
Right.
And so, there's so many victims that are being drawn in through Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat and ways that, people that maybe are a certain age, they weren't raised with, the phones. Now kids growing up are raised with the phones. And so what are some of the things that you are telling, people that you've been helping that is getting them set free?
Well, one of the main things is just talking about that no matter what happened in the past, you have a choice today. You can either focus on your past, call yourself a victim, and live as a victim, or you can look forward to the future and say, okay, this is what happened. How am I going to use this to help others so they don't become victims? And what can I do? How are my passion and purpose going to come alive to change the world around me? Because so many, and I know there are some amazing psychologists out there, but the whole world system lines up to make you feel like, oh, you poor thing. Let's keep looking back at what happened and focus on that. Well, what we know about the brain now and what God's Word said thousands of years ago is that what we think actually becomes. And when we are constantly thinking, we're a victim, I'm a victim, I'm a victim, every cell in your body believes that word that you're speaking or thinking. And so you actually become a victim again and again and again, and you will never get out of it. So you need to change your thinking and say, no, I am an amazing woman or man, and I am a child of God, and I have a purpose in this world, and I am going to achieve it no matter what. And it's amazing how the victim stuff just literally falls off you when you start charging forward in your purpose and your passion.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And, we can either become a victim or a victor.
Right.
And as I mentioned before, I'm writing a book, I'm halfway through it, called The Esther Effect, about how a young girl was trafficked, technically, into Babylon, but lost both of her parents.
Right.
And when the queen didn't come, when Xerxes called her, he, had another beauty pageant, banished his wife, and Esther, who was a trafficked orphan, technically was made queen and saved her whole culture from destruction.
Right.
And I'm sure she probably had some victim mentalities at some point.
Yes, and you think she was a young Jewish girl in a Gentile nation where basically the Jews were slaves, and yet God used her to literally bring freedom to her people. That's crazy.
Well, and that's God, because with God, all things are possible.
Yes.
And so every day we have to choose. That's why he said, choose you this day.
Right.
And so it's a choice, because, there's so many things bombarding us, Michelle, every day.
Yes.
And if you listen to the news, if your diet is listening to the news and just all that, you're going to be depressed.
Right.
But we're called to meditate upon his word.
Right.
And it said we would be like a tree if we did that.
Absolutely.
So maybe share a story, Michelle, of somebody who that you helped. You don't have to say their name.
Right.
But maybe share a scenario of somebody that came to you that was really broken and what you did through the Lord to help transform their life.
Okay, I love this because I love sharing stories, because this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where if there is no transformation, then why do we even try? So I regularly teach high school girls who are going to college. So one thing I want you to know out there, the first 6 months in college is the most dangerous time in a woman's life. And a lot of it revolves around drinking and partying and drugs and all that. But at the same time, it's a reality, the first 6 months. So I teach these big seminars, and I always say, Mom can come for free. So a lot of moms come, and I like them to know, what am I teaching your daughter who's your prized possession and is going to be going off to college? So I wish I didn't have to teach these things. Bottom line is, that's sad that we are in this state, but we are. So I taught a class. There were probably 150 women there, and I was cleaning up. Everyone was gone. I was cleaning up, and my husband would always come and help me. I bring a big Bob with me, cleaning up, and I noticed this woman hadn't left, and she had been there with her daughter. And she finally, after Bill had gone to the car to bring Bob to the car, you'll have to meet Bob, this woman came up and she said, do you mind if I tell you something? And she was a typical victim. I can spot a victim in a crowd of 1,000. I can point out the victims in 2 minutes. You wear very telltale signs. And she came up to me, and she was so timid, and she wouldn't look me in the eye, and she said, do you mind if I tell you something? Well, it turns out, I won't go into her story, but it is the worst story I've ever heard. It is way worse than anything I've suffered. It's way worse than it's like the 3 worst women I know have suffered altogether for this one woman. And yet her daughter was fairly, she was shy, but not what you'd expect from a victim like that. Turns out she had an amazing dad. Anyway, this woman starts telling me her story, and as I worked with her, I met with her just 3 times over coffee, so maybe 3 hours altogether, and this woman was transformed. Because what happened is, I just taught her to fake it. Literally, when you walk around, put your shoulders back, make eye contact with people, and smile. Not a big smile, not a lusty smile. You just want to smile at people as you walk by. And she called me a week later, and she said, oh my gosh, Michelle, you can't believe what happened. I didn't know people were so nice and friendly out there. And in 1 week of faking it till she makes it, and that doesn't work in everything, but in confidence, it really works. She literally, her life was transformed. And the next 3 weeks, the next 2 times I met her, I met with her once a week for 3 weeks. The next 2 times I met her, I helped her to actually start her own business, which she already knew what she was good at. She was good at bookkeeping, and I'm like, why are you working a job where you're making his dreams come true? You need to start your own bookkeeping company, and you can, get clients easily. And she is a thriving woman today, and her daughter, this is where it's amazing, her daughter, who was kind of shy and meek, is like this confident. She's graduated from college now. This was probably 5 or 6 years ago. And they're both these confident women. You would never know they were ever victims.
Well, you know, that's an interesting story because I used to be really shy.
Really?
When I was, you know, in grade school, and my mom used to give me these really short haircuts, and I had kind of buck teeth, and then I went through a season where I got braces, my hair grew, but I was shy, and I had a really outgoing aunt, and I just said, I'm just going to start acting outgoing.
I love it.
And I did it, and I eventually just came out of my shell.
Yes.
And just now I'm an outgoing person. So I think this is a really good,
right.
you know, a good analogy.
People respond to you. They give back what you give them. So if you're walking around all scared and timid, who's going to say, hey, how you doing today, Mary? But when you're walking around looking at the world and enjoying, taking in what life has to offer, people want to be around you. And I know this about you just in the month I've known you. You are a magnet for people. And everyone I talk to all over from Nashville to Texas to San Diego, they're like, you know Meri Crouley? How do you know Meri Crouley? And it's like, you're this celebrity. And I'm going, I never even heard of her before I met her, but it was magnetism. When we met, it was just like, God has a plan. I don't know what it is, but so it's interesting to see how much we have in common. And
well, and another good point that's coming to my mind, I've interviewed a gal on here that works teaching and going to schools and training about, you know, how to not be a victim of trafficking, because it's happening all over, and they're actually using high schools where a lot of the gangs are bringing in a girl that actually is in high school. Maybe she might be a senior, and then they're going after younger, more insecure girls.
Yes.
Like they have a way of looking for the insecure ones too.
Absolutely.
So she said, when somebody comes up to you and gives you a compliment, she said the best thing you can do is say thank you.
Right.
And then walk away. You don't have to say, oh, really, you think so? You know, I don't know. My hair isn't that nice.
Yes.
I mean, I'm kind of, if you start doing that, they know that you're not confident.
Yes.
And so the best thing she said to say is just thank you and walk away.
Yes, and you know what? If you don't mind, I want to bring up something else. Another very typical method to get women into sex trafficking are these things called Romeo perps. And they send, first of all, these predators are preying on Facebook. And I know your social media tells everybody in the world where you are, who you're with, what your frame of mind is that day. Oh, I had a fight with my parents. Oh, my parents don't understand me. I think I'm going to run away. And they know you're every Thursday at 4 o'clock at the beach with your friends, and they know that your mom doesn't even pick you up until 7, and your friends are gone at 5, and these predators are good at what they do. They are preying on Facebook and social media, Instagram. So they send in what's called a Romeo perp, and it's this good-looking, suave, young, probably 24-year-old who looks 20, and he goes and meets the 16-year-old at the beach and starts just they're slow and they're strategic, and they will literally prey on this girl by, first maybe he'll just say, wow, you're really pretty or whatever, and then the next week he's back again, and next thing he's saying, you know what, can I take you to dinner? Once you get in that car, and that, I will tell you, the first thing to never be a victim, never, ever, ever get in a vehicle with, even if they're holding you at gunpoint, do not ever get in a vehicle. Because if they'll kill you right there where you are, they will definitely kill you when you go away. But most predators will kill you when they drive you away, but they aren't going to kill you right there in public. So never, ever, ever get in a vehicle. If nothing else from this whole hour is driven into your mind, don't ever get in a vehicle. Don't try to be nice. That's not what we do. That doesn't work with predators.
Well, you know, it's interesting. You're talking about this. I had Opal Singleton on my show who wrote the book Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers, and she's working with million kids. She said there was one gal that got in a fight with her mother, went down to the park just to kind of blow off some steam. A woman sat next to her and talked to her for quite a while, and then the woman got her in the car to go to lunch with her, and right after she got in the car, 2 other gentlemen got in the car with her and took her away, and she was abused and confused and a bunch of stuff. Eventually they got her back, but
yes,
I'm
they're
telling
creative. These predators are creative, so yes, they'll use girls your own age. Oh, look at my new jewelry. Look at my new dress. Look, oh, you want to know how I got all that money? Well, you know what? Come to this party with me. And this isn't something to take lightly. You know, I know junior high and high school girls, I mean, we all want people to love us. We want people to think we're beautiful. But you know what? It is not worth your life. Be careful. Trust in someone. If it isn't your parents, find a cousin or an aunt or an uncle, a friend's mom that you can confide in, and always check things, because we don't, our sense of reality is a little bit skewed in those ages, and we might not make the best choices, and it could literally mean death.
Well, and we're not trying to frighten you watching them. What we're
Right.
trying to do is, people in America, it's almost like moms, many times you hand your daughter or child a smartphone, and according to what I've researched, you're literally opening up your child's world to 3 to 5 million pedophiles
Right.
around the world.
Right.
And even in video gaming, you know, there's
Right.
chat rooms, people will be
Yes.
on chat rooms, you
Chat
think you
rooms.
know them because you're chatting with them, but they're often not who they say they are,
Right.
or a lot older. One
Right.
story that Opal told me was that a father who was a good father gave his daughter a smartphone, and one night he heard something. He went to a room, he saw the window open, and he looked out the window. His daughter was walking down the street getting ready to get into a car. And he
Right.
jumped, you know, he literally went down there, knocked the guy out, and got his daughter back. But she was being lured on this chat room.
Right.
And this guy was a pedophile, an older, you know, guy in his 20s, but she was 16.
Right.
So what they look for, people who are insecure, they want to be
Absolutely.
validated, and they want to, you know, they can make literally one gal, 4 trafficked girls can make a trafficker $1 million tax-free a year.
Yes. It's all about the money. I mean, I know we look at it from the sex aspect, but it is about the money. And these are, I mean, it's tough to come against sex trafficking, and that's where I believe you and I will make a difference. And part of it is everybody wake up. I mean, God keeps saying to me, wake up, we are going to battle, because too many little boys and girls have become victims because we adults have wanted to hide our eyes and, well, it doesn't apply to me, and thank God my kids are grown. And I feel that way. Thank God my kids are grown. But now we have our first grandson on the way. Oops, sorry, Bree. We have our first grandson on the way, and it's like, oh, now a whole new generation to worry about. No, let's take care of it once and for all, so no one has to worry about their children, grandchildren, sisters, brothers, mothers. Let's get this. We can end this thing if we do it as a community. And I know I get really passionate about it, as you do too, because it's something we have the ability and the power to stop.
Well, that's an awesome point. And, you know, we just have a few minutes left. You know, this is something people don't really want to talk about, sex trafficking. We would rather be, you know, talking about something else.
Right.
But God has chosen us. I just feel his heart right now. God has chosen us. It said, train up a child in the way they will go. I'm sensing right now that the Father is saying that he wants us to train you, that we have to learn, that we have to understand what's going on when you give your child a smartphone. It's not a babysitter. This is a viable tool that can be used for good, but it can also be used for incredible evil.
Yes.
And, you know, let's wake up before it's too late. So we are making a difference, that we are coming together, and with Michelle's husband too, Bill, and we're getting a dream team together, that we are going to come together, because it's much harder. When you link arms with a team, you don't know who to shoot at.
Right.
And so we're putting together something where we're going to go to different cities and start educating, and we're starting to make awareness, but not just doing that, but also helping them to get free from the trauma.
Yes. Yes.
So just, Michelle, we have like a minute. Why don't you share, you know, kind of your thoughts on that?
Yes. So that's the thing, too, is there are so many people out, so many of you out there who are listening and watching. There is no coincidence with God that you're watching this program today. And I will tell you, having been a victim multiple times myself in different people I knew and stranger danger, I mean, it's crazy. I've run the gamut. I will tell you that the best way to heal from being a victim, first of all, God has to do it. But the best way is to help others in your situation or to protect others from heading into that situation. And I want to tell you, mothers, you are not your daughter's friend. You are not your son's friend. You are their mother or father. And it is your responsibility to protect that child and to help them make good decisions. So you don't, I've worked with so many moms who have said, oh, my daughter loves this guy and I don't want her to not like me, so I'm letting her go out with him even though he's in his 20s and she's 16. Stop it. And I just want to say, let's link arms, as Meri said. Let's link arms and let's change this for everyone, for our neighbors, for ourselves. And as victims, it helps us more than anything. It truly is more blessed to give than to receive. And what you get back from helping others is the most healing thing you could ever do.
Yes, amen. Thank you, Michelle, for coming on the program. And thank you for watching Now is the Time. If you'd be interested in having, Michelle and myself come out and do, a Freedom Cry, tour, we're just getting this assimilated right now. But please write me at mericrowley@yahoo.com or at gmail.com. It's on the screen. Or you can go to my website at mericrowley.com. And Michelle, what is your website? You have a website that can connect with you as well.
My website is rockyourredcarpet.com.
Because she helps people to get back in the game again. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we hope to see you very soon. God bless you.